Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Alex Avila with Love University, and we're back. I'm an author, psychologist, and speaker. Every week, we talk about how to love ourselves, others, and a higher nature, how to improve our finances, career, health, relationships, and spirituality. And we have a very distinguished and interesting guest today. This is William Bruce Cameron, also known as W. Bruce. He is an author, columnist, and humorist. His novel, A Dog's Purpose, spent 52 weeks on the New York Times bestseller list and was adopted into a wonderful movie starring Dennis Quaid. It was followed by A Dog's Journey, Dog's Way Home, and also he also co-wrote, the screenplay with his wife for these movies. And also he's written other things, 8 Simple Rules for Dating My Teenage Daughter, which was a TV sitcom apparently. He's the author of How to Remodel a Man, and he just told me he wrote 34 books, translated into over 60 languages. He lives with his wife, you say your dog, Tucker, and your wife in Los Angeles, California. Welcome, Bruce, to the show.
Thank you for having me. This is going to be great.
Yeah, I think it is. Now, your books and movies are beloved by millions of people. This whole idea of the dog that reincarnates and brings love again. Now, you have a wonderful story as to how you came up with that. I was reading about it. Can you tell us how that worked?
Well, I was living in Los Angeles as a single man, having gotten divorced, and I met this woman, and we started to date, which is really awkward when you're as old as I am. But then at some point we decided to go visit her parents who lived in the Bay Area, and we were driving up the coast of California, and she turns to me out of nowhere and she says, "I will never have another dog." And but my reaction to that was I was going to have to let her out at the next gas station, because there's no way in the world I'm going to go through life with a woman who doesn't let me have a dog. But I had a long drive ahead of me, and so I decided to make up a story to try to convince her that the love that she had from her first dog, who had passed, was available to her in another dog if she would just open her heart. And so I made up a story about a dog who reincarnates, remembers each life, and keeps learning lessons that eventually enable him to come back and save his original boy. And she said, "You got to write that as a book." And so that became A Dog's Purpose, which is to date my biggest book by far. And that's the one that was on the New York Times bestseller list for more than a year, and at 7 weeks at #1. So it did really well for me.
Yes. You forgot there's a little catch at the end of the story, because that woman became something special to you as well.
Well, she liked the story so much she married me.
Okay.
Yeah. And we did get a dog. His name's Tucker.
Okay.
And he's 24 pounds of suspect DNA.
Okay, interesting. Is he there by any chance, or around the house?
No. I'm away. I'm at it's a home that's been in my family for 3 generations, and it's up in Michigan. So I'm in a little cabin.
I see.
And Tucker's back doing the Hollywood thing in LA.
Oh, the Hollywood thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, the phrase "the love of dogs," or humans and dogs love each other. Now, I have a little dog here. This is Itzy. I don't know if you can see her. She's a miniature golden retriever, kind of like I call her a psychology dog. She's kind of the mascot for Love University. Do you see her? And she's very loving. Yeah, very loving. And I think you talk about a golden retriever you had, or a retriever you had when you were a little kid, 8-year-old, I think you said, was your first dog.
First dog I ever met that came into the family was a dog named Cammy. I was 8 years old. Cammy was about 8 weeks old, puppy, Labrador retriever. From that point on, we never had anything but retrievers when I was growing up. That's kind of all I knew. So Tucker's a change for me, because he's not a Labrador. Labradors are they have very distinct breed characteristics. Yes. With Tucker, with having no distinct breed, as Tucker characteristics. He's his own dog.
Right. Have you ever seen that Tucker web series? That's kind of funny, of the golden retriever. His name Tucker.
I have not seen that.
Yeah,
one.
It's got millions of hits. Basically, the owner kind of mouths the dog's voice. It's very funny. It's a funny dog. Now, there's actually a story where a guy had a dog, and he was traveling nationwide. He's trying to find a hotel that would accommodate the dog, so he sent a bunch of emails out. And then finally, this one hotel owner responded, "Yes, your dog can be a valuable guest. I've never had a dog smoke cigarettes and put the room on fire. And I've never had a dog get so drunk that he got into a fight with his girlfriend and the police were called. So therefore, yes, your dog is welcome. And if it's okay with Misty, you can come too." So, so basically, there's that love and that bond between humans and dogs. Tell us a bit. Where do you think that comes from? Is that Biological?
Oh,
Is it?
I know exactly where it comes from. It comes from something that happened about 30,000 years ago. When I was in elementary school, there was a bond that formed between humans and wolves. It was the
Oh,
first domesticated animal in the history of humans,
yes.
and it changed. It was a game changer. It was a disruptive technology because we were hunting with sticks that had sharp stones tied to the end of it, and we were trying
Yes.
to take down rather massive animals because back then all the animals were bigger. And when we came up with the idea of domesticating wolves, well, that meant that we could hunt much more successfully because now we had a partner. And it turned out that if you really got along well with the wolves, then you were more likely to reproduce. And if the wolves that adapted to us did so easily and frankly loved us, then they were more likely to be allowed to reproduce. And so we were at that moment co-evolving without even realizing it. And so now skip forward 30,000 years, and it's literally in our DNA to love dogs.
Wow.
Because those of us who loved dogs way back when they were wolves, we were more successful hunters, and we passed on that affection for those creatures. And the dogs the same way. They instinctively love us. They don't know why they love us so much, but they do.
Fascinating. Maybe we should do a study on evolutionary dog psychology. That could be a whole genre field. That's kind of fascinating.
I'll leave that kind of stuff up to you.
Oh, okay. I'll take care of that. Okay. Now, the other thing is I noticed is very fascinating about your books and the movies is there's a spiritual element to them, a psychological element in terms of the thing of reincarnation, which is interesting here in the West. It's more known in the East of the world. And also in your book, so you have basically the dog reincarnates as different dogs, I see. And that keeps the love going. Apparently, you never really lose a dog. And he's reunited at the end with Ethan. I think as Bailey. Was it Bailey, the dog name? Or
Yeah.
And then at the end, they go to heaven as well. So you have like both reincarnation and heaven. So you have interesting spiritual dynamics there. Now, how did you come up with it? Do you have any spiritual beliefs yourself? What's your kind of understanding of this?
Well, I'm not sure. I'm open to the concept of reincarnation. I'm not sure it's a bedrock belief. If there is reincarnation, though, I'm not doing 8th grade again. Once is enough. I don't know that dogs reincarnate, but I do know that many people have come up to me and said, "Oh no, the dog I have right now knows things that only my old dog Squeak Sneakers could have known," and things like that have happened. So I have that sort of built in, and then some of my works deal much more directly with religious themes. I wrote a book called Emery's Gift. It's not about dogs. It's about a grizzly bear, but it is it's very spiritual and it has religious themes in it. So I'm not afraid to tackle that. But dogs, I think dogs kind of look to us as their deities. That's their belief system, and so when I'm writing, especially writing from the perspective of a dog, I have to keep in mind that the way they regard us is almost perfect. We're perfect when we open the refrigerator and get the bacon out. Then we're perfect.
Perfect. I see. Now, do you personally have any spiritual path? Are you Christian, Buddhist, spiritual, but not religious?
I'm a Christian. Yeah.
Okay. So, because the beautiful part of heaven, and we'll talk a little bit later about that passage where they meet, at this beautiful paradise at the end. And because people, when they feel very sad, their dog dies, there's a hope that, they can be reunited. And the other thing, I think you also mentioned synchronicity, which is destiny. Are dogs and humans destined for each other in a specific context? What do you think of that? I mean, are you destined for your dog that you met?
Yeah, I have a belief that I will see all of my dogs again. And I also believe that my dog Tucker is a conduit to dogs that I've known from my past. And I will sometimes ask Tucker to pass along a message. It might be foolishness, but I feel it. And I think that when I'm channeling a feeling that strong about these dogs that guided me through parts of my life where I really need canine companionship, I think when I'm channeling that and I'm talking to Tucker, it's working for me. And I have no evidence that my dogs are getting the message, but somehow I believe it anyway.
It's interesting. Yeah, it's a comfort that we have. Also when people die, humans, there's the afterlife idea, united eternally. Now, the other thing is the benefits of dogs. Some research shows they lower blood pressure, reduce loneliness, depression, things like that. I had this lady on my show. I don't know if you heard about it, Savannah Charlson. She deals with possibility dogs. She wrote books on it. Where these dogs, they do a lot of things. They're therapy dogs, but also they can rescue people that get lost, like with Alzheimer's. They smell something from their shoe and they find them. Also, they find other dogs. And also, she had mentioned that her family was estranged and they got a little dog and it brought them together. So, in your experience, what are some of the benefits of having dogs in terms of psychologically?
Well, I would say that they will lower your blood pressure unless you're trying to housebreak them in a high rise, which is what my journey was with Tucker. That was not exactly a tranquil or calming episode of my life.
Right.
But anybody who has known the love of a dog knows that you just don't get a more pure, unconditional kind of affection than you do from a dog. And a dog is so forgiving. We humans can be very judgmental. Not a dog. A dog doesn't care what I wear. Doesn't say to me, "Are you really leaving the house wearing that?
Are you ugly? Are you pretty?" The dog doesn't care about that.
Yeah, the dog doesn't care if I forgot to comb my hair. Okay, so what? And always glad to see me. I can take the trash out, and when I come back, I'm greeted as if I've just spent 4 years in the war. So I think that they give us such a positive glow. And honestly, that's the lesson that the dogs are here to teach us. This positivity, this idea that nothing can be that bad. And dogs are given very little time to live. They're not aware of it, but if they were, I don't think it would bother them. I think instinctively a dog knows when it's getting old, slowing down, feeling pain. And at that point, I think a dog is looking at us and is very concerned if there's not another dog in the house. Who's going to take care of my person when I'm gone? That's what I think a dog is thinking.
Yeah, it's really interesting. You're adding some interesting psychological elements I haven't thought about. Non-judgmentalism is one. And the time span, even if you have 10 years left in life or whatever amount, make it count. Make it as if this is the most powerful thing you would ever have. Now, in the book, Dog's Purpose, I think the dog says, my purpose is to have fun. I'm thinking of spontaneity, having that childlike playfulness that we sometimes lose as adults, but to maintain that. To save others, which is, I think that's an important part, loving others, not getting upset about past and future. So living in the moment, eliminating regrets, and also the future fears. I wrote a book called The Secrets of Happiness, 3 Secrets of Happiness. So that would be gratitude, deals with the present. Forgiveness is the past, forgiving yourself and others. And optimism is the future. So it sounds like a dog has that kind of nailed down, those 3 things, because they're always in the present. And then finally, I think you said, Bruce, what I call to give love without expectation, loving energy. And that is very rare. And I always say that we see that between humans and animals, parents and young children, but then sometimes we lose that in adult relationships. So have you ever thought about that? How do we recapture the love without expectation component as adults?
Yeah, I think it's because we're such complex beings and we get so buried in the intricacies and complications of life. And a dog keeps it simple. And the joy of an animal who can celebrate things like a car ride. I put my dog in the car to take Tucker for a car ride. I told him, we're going to go for a car ride. We got in the car. I realized I couldn't go. I had to make a phone call. So I got out of the car, let him out of the car. And he was like, that was the best car ride ever.
Yeah, for 1 minute, I'm okay, right? Whatever.
Thanks. I mean, so let's try to understand and appreciate that. If I'm hurrying my meals, if I'm standing at the kitchen counter bolting something down so I can get somewhere, am I really enjoying life? Is my life so overscheduled that I've factored out the sheer enjoyment that my dog Tucker takes in finding the exact right spot to take a nap? to go for a walk and to smell the smells and to stop, not just smelling the roses, but smelling everything. That's a dog's way, and that's what I think we can learn from them.
I like that. Bruce, I think you and I just came up with a title we can work on possibly. It's called Dogs, Lessons, and Happiness, a self-help book. You see? And I don't know if people's already written that, but it would be interesting to apply all the lessons that dogs can teach us for human happiness, right? Because we can do that. You like that title?
I love it. Yeah.
Because you're a good title guy. I noticed that. You're a writer. But you haven't mentioned, now cats are a whole different concept. A lot of people love cats. And I never really had too much affinity, but this one stray cat came in the backyard and was kind of like, they would, should go on my lap and all that. What do you think about cats? Are you for or against, or what's your feeling?
I've had a cat. I love the cat.
Your cat was
really particularly like me. Reasons I don't know. I thought I was a nice person. I fed the cat.
I see.
All the stuff you're supposed to do. Bought a cat toys.
Okay.
The dog loved the cat toys, and people ask me all the time, well, when are you going to write a cat's purpose? And I have to confess, I don't know what the purpose of a cat is.
Okay, that's a good point.
So it's going to be difficult for me to write that book.
Right. So you think some people are like dog lovers, some are cat lovers, and some are both?
And both. I mean, a lot of people love both and love all animals and bless them. I do too. I recognize the cats are just not that particularly fond of me. Maybe because of the way I dress or something, but a dog, I promise you, dogs love me. Of course, I always have, dog treats in my pocket, and it's amazing how dogs can sniff that out. And so everybody says, "Wow, Bruce, dogs really love Bruce." Well, dogs love what's in my pocket, and I don't tell people that's why their dog is loving me so much.
I see. Now in the U.S., we're known for taking care of dogs pretty well. In some countries, not as much. But in the U.S., in other places, how can we take better care of our dogs? I mean, even psychologically, what do dogs need, do you think?
Well, look, we took over dogs. We bred them to serve us, and that's why we've got dachshunds, and that's why we've got Shar-Peis, and but here's the thing: you don't see a pack of dachshunds taking down a wildebeest. We've taken away from them their ability to fend for themselves in the wild. It's a rare dog that can live without humans. And even the dogs that are feral are generally located in urban areas where they can eat off of human scraps and handouts. So we owe them. Our species owe them. Our debt goes all the way back to that first campfire and that first decision to domesticate the wolf. But fast forwarding to where we are today, we have completely mismanaged dog populations. We've overbred them. We've allowed them to go through life reproducing, which they will instinctively do until there's too many of them. And then we've tried to manage that problem. I think we owe them a great deal. And I think what the best thing we can do is work on managing their populations so that we don't have so many dogs that through no fault of their own have fallen through the cracks and are homeless, because they will want to be with humans. It's a rare dog that has been usually it's something that has happened to dogs traumatically that makes them incapable of living with people.
So you're saying reduce the population of dogs or find them homes? What do you think would be societally a good idea?
I think we need to we need to be realistic about spay and neutering programs, and we need to find them homes. And animal rescues are begging people to come in and adopt. Don't buy from some breeder in a rural area who has cages in the backyard and is just forcing dogs to reproduce and is selling those puppies to pet stores. Don't do that. Go to a rescue. You can we've been talking about golden retrievers. If you are into golden retrievers, I just spoke a couple nights ago at the Golden Retriever Rescue of the Rockies organization, and they have placed so many purebred golden retrievers. If you want a golden, you can get a golden. You want a lab, you can get a lab.
Wow, that's really amazing. And of course, give them a lot of attention and affection, of course, and companionship, I would imagine.
Yes.
Is important for dogs. Now, the other thing, Bruce, and your theme was dealing with the loss of a dog. You said your fiance, now wife, and that really helped her, comfort her at the time. The idea of possibly the reincarnation idea. Is there anything else you can help people that grieves for the loss of a dog in terms of recovery?
Well, I think you need to. I think that we could all use the perspective of understanding that it's a gift that they are here for such a short period of time, because what they are teaching us is that everything wonderful comes to an end, and that but except love, which is eternal.
Yes.
And that we should live life like the dogs. You find yourself saying, well, this was another bad day.
Well, I think she just said something. She whined a little bit. She responded.
Yeah, she's agreeing with me. If you think you're having a bad day and your head is down, and you just need to think about how a dog would approach the same experience. Dogs would not be depressed.
I see what you're saying. So kind of like absorb their energy a little bit, their nature of going with life as it comes, and also being grateful that we're here for the time that we have.
Yeah, we're here for a short period of time too.
Humans, yeah, exactly.
Don't be like a dog. Don't waste the moment.
That's excellent. Now, the other thing is interesting is now you're a very prolific writer. That's a lot of books. So, we have people that are interested in writing on our show that ask questions about it. And you said in this particular case, you kind of channeled this book. You said in 2 hours, you told your wife to be the story of this dog, right? The dog's purpose.
Yeah.
That's unusual. This never really happened to you too much.
No, it's very, so I went through a time period where I was pretty arrogant. I had a television show on the air, 8 Simple Rules with John Ritter. And I was taking meetings every day with Hollywood people, and I had optioned a couple more things, and everything was going great. And I was starting to think I was really hot stuff. And I think I became a little too arrogant for my own good. And then I had the inevitable business reversal. Unfortunately, John passed away. The show got canceled. Things that we could not have foreseen were happening. And I eventually turned and made a plea heavenward. And I said, I think I thought this was all me. I forgot that one of the main reasons why I can sell anything that I write is that I was given a talent. I didn't do anything to deserve the ability to string together sentences in a coherent fashion. That just came, and I have practiced it. But if I was born a superb athlete and basketball player, and I practiced basketball every day, I'd get a lot of credit for all the practice, but I'd have to acknowledge some of it came from just what I was given at birth.
Yes.
And when I humbled myself a little bit and started acknowledging that my gifts were God-given, it coincided with driving up the coast of California, and I had always in the past pieced together a story like a mouse running a maze, where I would go in one direction until I hit an impediment, and I'd turn around, go back to where the story last made sense, and go in a different direction. A Dog's Purpose came to me as if I had flipped a switch and was watching a streaming service. I saw every scene, I saw dialogue, I saw characters, and I spat it all out in one long narrative, which has never happened to me before or since.
Interesting. But I mean, if you were to give advice for writers, some people say, write the first few hours in the morning, have discipline, write when you're inspired. I have a phrase I use. I say, don't wait until the inspiration moves you. You move the inspiration by developing a discipline pattern. So what's your advice to writers that want to be prolific like you?
Well, you kind of put a modifier on it at the very end, who want to be prolific like me. I developed a system that I follow to this day, and it is so precise. I know exactly where I need to be in the novel on every day of its journey.
Yes. And
I don't hit a word count per day as a goal, but I have dates in mind by which I'll finish a certain draft. So it comes to developing a discipline. But I think the discipline is for whatever works. If it works for you to get up in the morning and write, then do that. That's what I did for several years of my life. I didn't sell any of those projects. but I would get up at 4:30 and write before I went to my day job.
Oh.
And now I get up and I write after walking my dog and talking to my dog about what I'm planning to write. It's very much a discipline. So my advice is, forgetting being prolific and just going to developing your craft, you have to recognize it's like shooting baskets. It takes repetition. And if you wait for the muse and a burst of creativity, and you might write something brilliant that afternoon, but if you're gonna wait for that, if you're gonna wait for those rainbows to find a pot of gold every single time you sit down to write, that novel is going to take you 10, 15 years. And it might be To Kill a Mockingbird. It might be a classic.
Sure.
But if it turns out you are like me and your first book wasn't any good and your second book wasn't any good and your third book didn't sell and your fourth book didn't get published, and finally with your 10th book, you actually sold one into publication. If you're going to be like me, it's not going to cut it to take 10 years to write a book. You'll be gone.
I see. So basically persistence is very important. Apparently you kept at it. You didn't quit.
Just keep. That's the secret to my success. It might not work for other people.
By the way, do you play basketball or do you like basketball?
No.
Just metaphor.
I use it because I'm terrible at it.
Oh, okay. My son plays it. He's a big guy. Now, Bruce, the idea of love, Love University, we talk about loving ourselves, others, and a higher nature. How do we bring more love into the world? Dog love, of course, we know, and also non-dog love. What would be, you think, a good approach for that? To bring more love into the world?
Well, I would say that the secret lies in the way a dog will forgive you just about anything. If you forget to feed your dog, they'll forgive you. If you leave them and you get tied up at work and you can't come home and it's very late when you walk in, they forgive you. They just can never hold a grudge.
Right.
And think of all the wasted time we have in our brains where we've held a grudge against some other person for some insult or slight, or even a crime. I mean, there just comes a point where you have to acknowledge that you'll be forever a victim of a crime if you just can't get past it. And a dog, I've seen dogs that are in carts because they were hit by a car and they no longer have movement in their rear legs. And I wrote a book about that called Lacey's Story. And these dogs completely are happy because as far as they're concerned, something goofy happened with their legs, but they're not in pain, so they're fine. And I think for people, if I got hit by a car and could no longer move my legs, I might spend the rest of my life bitterly going over and over what happened and thinking about how unfair it was. So that's the secret. Look at how dogs do it.
Yes, I like that. So you sound like full acceptance of everything in life, non-judgmentalism, tolerance for others and for yourself too, because we can be very harsh critics sometimes. And we need to forgive ourselves is one of the keys to happiness, self-forgiveness. And loving yourself and others. So that's a very beautiful message. Now, looking at your books, I have them here. This is one here, I guess, Dog's Journey. And this is the one you said that really made you, right? In a sense, famous,
and maybe a dog book guy.
And dog book guy. So Dog's Purpose, and they have very kind of emotional themes. We're talking about mortality and all that. So I'm kind of wondering, are you what I call a feeling personality type? The Myers-Briggs, we do testing. Are you a feeler or a thinker, would you say, making choices?
I've always thought of myself as a thinker, but my language is always things like, I'm feeling this and I'm feeling that. And I also pretty much when I am imagining a scene, like an action scene, I wrote a book called A Dog's Courage, and it's about a dog who gets trapped in a huge fire in the Rocky Mountains. And it's got so much action. It's an action thriller told from the point of view of a dog. And I knew whenever I was afraid and tense, and even though I was making the story up, when it got to me emotionally, I knew I had something. But if I write something or if I'm imagining something and I'm just not feeling it, it's not, I throw it out. It's not any good.
So maybe you're a closet feeler is what I call, like internally, you don't show it as much, but you have that ability to tap into feelings. Because I'm reading the passage here, and from The Dog's Purpose, the owner is dying, Ethan. He says he would be leaving soon. My boy, which I assume he's a man now, is dying. His hand is weak. trembling. I will miss you, Doodle Dog, he says. I loyally remained right where I was remembering the first time I had seen the boy and the last time. This is the dog talking now. At that moment, I was at peace, secure in the knowledge that living my life the way I had, everything had come down to this moment. I had fulfilled my purpose. That's the dog's purpose. And then the dog's journey, the second part of it, is now the dog is dying. And they're saying to the dog around, the family members, we love you. The waves swept over me. Gold, the light was gold. And suddenly my vision was as clear and as sharp as a puppy. Bailey, Ethan yelled, waving. I was a good dog, and this was my reward. Now I would go to be with the people I loved. Whimpering with joy, I swam toward those golden shores. Now, hearing that, people can get teary-eyed, but how do you feel? I mean, you probably heard this a lot. Is there a feeling that you have?
I think there's what could be sweeter than a story of reunification, of the story of a dog finding the people that were important to him or her and reuniting. That's the secret sauce in a dog's purpose, a dog's journey, a dog's promise. That's the trilogy. And then I've also written a series, A Dog's Way Home and A Dog's Courage, which is a 2-book series with the same theme. It's not reincarnation, but it's returning to the people you love. I'm very moved to suppose that a lost dog can find its way back to the people that the dog cares about more than anything.
Yeah, that's very beautiful. So the emotions are there, but also it's a feeling of, like you said, love, right? So eternal love, I think, could be the theme of your books in this human dog scenario. And Bruce, is there any projects you're working on now? What are you excited about? Because you got so many different things you've done.
Yeah, I have a book coming out in September called Zeus Water Rescue. It's a new series for me built around dogs with a purpose, dogs who have a job. And Zeus is a water rescue dog. I'm working on the second book in the series. They're standalone. Zeus doesn't know the dog I'm writing about now, whose name is Ripley. Ripley works at a fire station. I'm very excited about these books. And it's a series for younger readers. And then I've got a book that I will start writing any day now. That's due this at the end of the summer. I'll probably be late, but that's because I have too many books to do at once. But I'm really excited about that book. Doesn't really have a working title yet, and I've got a couple more stored up. So I'm always writing, and I'm on writer's strike at this moment because my screenplays and my TV scripts cannot be discussed or sold or anything. So I'm just focused on my novels right now. I'm allowed, as a member of the WGA, to stay focused on writing books. So that's what I'm doing.
I see. So the writer, you have the heart of the writer, right? The words flow through you.
Yes.
You said, like I said, maybe giving thanks to something higher, right? That is giving you that talent. In Spanish, we have the word don. You may have heard the word don divino, which means gift from God. Don is a talent, an ability. And you appear to have many talents. And I'd love to have you on again, maybe for that new book, The Purpose-Driven Dog, as you call it, right? Something like that.
Yeah, Dogs with a Purpose.
Dogs with a Purpose. That'd be fantastic. Where can people hear more about, do you have a website or where they can get a hold of you and your books and things and all that?
Sure. You can find me at wbrucecameron.com. If it's easier, you can go to adogspurpose.com. And there is a way to get in touch with me if that's your interest. I send signed book plates to anybody who asks, and bookmarks, and get on my mailing list. I'll send you a letter every once in a while, an actual snail mail letter. That's I just do things the old-fashioned way.
I like that. Yeah, that's kind of cool. Well, Bruce, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. We'd love to have you on again. I can see the love emanating from you through the dog, right? So it's like a little bit of a symbolic gesture that we have. So definitely keep the beautiful work you're doing, helping us have more love in the world.
Thank you. The pleasure was all mine.
Until next time, this is Dr. Alex Avila, Love University. Everyone put away your notebooks, your iPads, your phones. Class is now dismissed. Let's see, what did you think of the interview, by the way? This interview we had with Mr. Bruce, W. Bruce Cameron. Oh, yeah? It was boring? No, it wasn't boring. Come on. Okay, tell me the truth. Okay, here's a bone for you. Oh, you loved it. Okay, it was a wonderful interview about basically you guys, right? You dogs that are very loving, generous, non-judgmental, and forgiving. And that, I think, is the main message we got today, is that we can be a little more like dogs in certain ways, psychologically and emotionally. They love us no matter what. They live for the moment. They don't worry about the future. They don't regret the past. Those are beautiful things. And when you do that, you really love yourself, because you forgive yourself for the past. You take away the fear and anxiety of the future. And you live for the moment. Now, you want to go out right now? You want to go to the beach or something, or have a little fun? I think she does. So this is the message. And Bruce was a great guest. We'd love to have him back again. And also, if you guys want to write to us, you can reach us at loveuniversitylove@gmail.com. You can call us at 310-226-8090. You can visit us at loveuniversity.love. You can download the podcast, Podbean, Spotify, SoundCloud, and iTunes. You can follow us and like us on Facebook and Instagram at Love Letter U Podcast. You can also follow us on Twitter at Love U Podcast. So until next time, this is Dr. Alex Avila. We'd love to hear from you, have you on the show possibly, and get more knowledge to you and from you. Again, this is Dr. Alex Avila, Love University. Put away your notebooks, your iPads, your phones. Class is now dismissed. Say bye, Itzy. Bye-bye.